So welcome to my class, and finally now in this we are doing, of course, in continuation with the secondary data, we are talking about the limitations of the secondary data. So whenever what are the basic limitations? The limitation that is really important to note is that maybe it's not suitable. Just because one is lazy, one just picks it up, doesn't want to find out about the ground reality, and just because you have the data available some time back maybe, and you can just relate to it or get it and cut it accordingly and do it. Or sometimes you just take the data which suits your bias. Like if you're partial to something, you just take up that data and you talk about it. So these are some of the limitations that have to be which are there rather when you're doing the secondary data. Just have a look. For example, now these are the basic limitations that the secondary data suffers from. One is that secondary data may not be at all suitable for the required purpose. Secondly, it could be influenced by the personal bias or personal prejudices, or maybe you're partial to something and you want to support it, so you will take up only those issues or reports or that thread, and you will not take the other one and publish and only your side of the report, not talking about the other side. Then perhaps one does not check the authenticity of the secondary data. Perhaps they are not collected by the proper procedure. Then another important limitation which has to be taken, which is there rather, it's a serious limitation, is they may be out of date and not suitable to the present period. That also is there. And of course, the secondary data might not satisfy a reasonable standard of accuracy. So these are some of the limitations that have to be kept in mind while preparing a report. Now, for example, if I'm preparing a report on let's take the farmers' agitation that is going on. Now I am preparing a report. I'm just going to write an article perhaps, and I'll say, well, it is very well researched. And when you ask me, where did I get my data from? I'll say, well, it was the WhatsApp messages that came to me, or the YouTube channels that I saw, and a little bit of the government news. So suppose I am more biased towards the government's point of view, I will make my report sound very authentic by taking whatever they are saying is right. Or if my leanings are towards the farmers, I will take more what I'm getting from the social media and I prepare a report. I, as a researcher, has to be very careful in using such data that I'm collecting, and I should be impartial when I'm writing the report, and I must take an equal measure to measure what is for that I'm collecting and what is against, and then I make a report. And that should be in the information, for example. But again, they are neither, because that comes to just that what's going on. But when one is making a research project, one has to make sure that the data that is published, because of published data which is there for you to see, is not very far away. The period of time should not be so far that there is no comparison whatsoever. So to be relevant, it should be there. Or historically, if you want to prove a point, then it's a different story. So, but limitations of limitations of the secondary data are very serious, and one should take into account while making your study only based on secondary data. Okay.